Thank you. That piece is called Sailing the Blue Sea, and it's you can sort of see la 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 like that. Anyway, I'm going to sing you a song now of Rama and Sita. You have to be close enough so I hear you. So come on this side. Okay. Rama was a ruler's son long ago, long ago. Huh? Rama was a ruler's son long ago, long ago. It's wrong. Sita was his wife so fair, truly she his life did share, though much suffering she won long ago, long ago. Ramo Sita Ram. Rama's father banished him far from home, far from home. All alone the woods to roam, Sita gladly shared his doom. Thus his sorrow soon grew dim, long ago, long ago. Ramo Sita Ram. Famous wanderers were they, many years, many years. Raised in silk in marble halls, now they slept by waterfalls. For their bed they gathered hay, long ago, many years, many years. Ramo Sita Ram. One day came an evil man, oh the hour, oh the hour. Stole Ram's wife while Ram was born, carried her to his own home. Thus his sons, thus her soul's dark night began. Woe the hour, woe the hour. Ramo Sita Ram. True was she, though sorely pressed, Rama's wife, Rama's wife. Long she spurned the stranger's pleas, harsh she called his life of ease. Only tested love is blessed, Rama's wife, Rama's wife. Ramo Sita Ram. Sita Ram at last did win her back, sorrows fled, sorrows fled. Soon they to their palace went, ended now Ram's banishment, ended all their years of lack, sorrows fled, sorrows fled. Ramo Sita Ram. But for Ram and Sita true, long ago, long ago, love was all their riches still, palace gold could never fill, hearts that heaven's laughter knew, long ago, long ago. Ramo Sita Ram. Well, we have New Year's coming up day after tomorrow. And what do you gain from reincarnation? We'll start with that. You gain a chance to start all over. If you were a murderer, you get a chance to, having forgotten that you were a murderer, to start a new life. You get a chance to reform. And in a sense, every day is a new incarnation. Every day when you wake up, if you affirm that you will that you'll do certain things, for instance, give up smoking or whatever it is, that can be like a new incarnation to you. And Lahiri Mahasaya said, every breath can be a new reincarnation. When you inhale, make an affirmation, from now on the past is dead, I will be a better person. And so, although astrologically speaking, the new year ought to begin on March 21st, this is the vernal equinox, yet custom has made it January 1st, and okay, we can take that. At the beginning of a new year, we can make this affirmation to change our lives. We all have things that we want to overcome. We all have things that we want to develop. And if it's only the positive thing of love, wanting to love God more, let us make this New Year's a time of reformation. Let us change ourselves and live more for God. This year does not promise to be a good year, I'm sorry to say. It promised to be a very difficult year. Economically, maybe in war, who knows. But this depression which is coming, which I think will come now, America is $15 trillion in debt. They can never come out of that. The only thing they can do is print money. And Master said that money will not be worth the paper it's printed on. There'll be hyperinflation. We've seen it in Argentina, we've seen it in Germany, we've seen it in one other country, I don't remember which one, in the last century. Now it'll be global. And people will be starving. But if you give your life to God and if you love God, He will take care of you. One of the most important things that I have accomplished in my life is creating communities like this. Communities where people live in harmony together, where they respect one another and love one another and do things together. Master used to say, if you live in a town of 1,000 people, a village of 1,000 people, and you work competitively, each man has 999 enemies. If you work cooperatively, each one has 999 friends. We have shown by our communities, we have about 1,000 people living in these communities around the world, and we have shown that it is a way of life. Many members have said to me, and I myself say, thank God for Ananda. It's a way of life where you feel that you've got friends with you, and together we can do things which we cannot do if we do it only alone. Many hands make a miracle. Ananda is a very important thing, but socially it's a vitally important statement, because in time of depression, people need, I tell people buy gold because gold won't devaluate like paper. But money is even, land is even more important. You can't eat gold. You can't eat the food that you grow on land. I beg you all to keep this thought in mind, because it's very vitally important, and you will see it coming in the years, in the months to come. There will be great need for communities like this, and one community in India can offer an example to communities all over the country. I would love to see villages spring up in India where people live together and live for God, and make them ashrams like the old ashrams of the Vedic times, when people were not necessarily renunciates. They may have been married, they may have children, but they lived for God. And if you have villages like that, it can change the whole face of India. The reason for this depression is greed. People think in terms of what they can get, not in terms of what they can give. And if you have a few people happy and secure because they give, they don't take, you will change the whole consciousness of this country. The corruption that we see in this country, the lying, this thing has to go. And the best thing is not to talk against what is wrong, but to show an example of how happy people are when they live right. So I beg you, please, to think about the importance of starting communities. This little community is just a tiny thing. I hope in years to come we can buy this whole valley. But I hope that this will be a beginning for communities all over the country. Please be a part of this movement. It will help you more than you can imagine. And it will help the country, and it will help the world. So now, do you have any questions to ask?
Swami, we have some questions.
Okay.
How much progress or how relevant is the progress on the spiritual path if the person is not sensitive enough to his family members?
Well, I tell you, the family members are, there is a saying in America, God gave us our relatives, but thank God we can choose our friends. The relatives are not always very much your true family. The community that we have there, those are the true families, when you really care for people. I have a brother who lives in California, only 120 miles from where I live, and I almost never see him. And when I do, he doesn't have any understanding for these things. Yes, out of duty, I will help him when I can. Out of duty, he has helped me when he could. But that's not my true family. So say the question again. You all are my family.
How relevant is the progress on the spiritual path if the person is not sensitive enough to his family members?
Well, you have to be sensitive to everybody. You know, this is one thing that you find. Sannyasis reject the family, but they should not reject the family. They should include the whole world in their family. They shouldn't reject. So we should love everybody, including our family, yes. And sometimes they're the most difficult to love. I love people. I love humanity. It's people I can't stand. So, okay, next question.
Next question. How to get our children to be more enthusiastic and more active in life so that they can achieve their potential?
Give them time. Tell them stories. Be their friend. Too many parents, both husband and wife, work, and they use the television as their babysitter. This is not right. They should spend more time with their children. Tell jokes to the children. Tell stories to the children. My father would come in at night to our beds and tell us stories. And although I have no real relationship with him, yet I always remember what a wonderful father he was. Give more time to the children. The other answer is be a good example. You can't expect your children to be kind if you're not kind. Be the kind of person you want them to be. After that, you have to accept that everybody comes into this world with his own karma. And a saint may be born into the family of a criminal if they have that one trait together of liking peace. So you don't necessarily have a strong bond with your parents or your children, but you can at least show them a good example. Okay?
One more, Swami. Our seeds, our karmic seeds in the spine are roasted and the energy is released during Kriya practice. Is it applicable for both good and bad karma?
Yes.
And is it done from the present incarnation to the past incarnation or reverse?
You know, the deeper seeds from the past incarnations, these usually take a higher state of consciousness. When you have reached the state of Jivan Mukta, then you look back over all your past lives, maybe as a pirate, maybe as a all sorts of people. And you can then realize that it was God who played that part. And so you release that memory into the infinite. When you finished all your past incarnations of karma and seen that it was God active in all of them, and it was He doing it, not your ego, then you attain moksha. So this you may be a Jivan Mukta for many incarnations. I asked my guru one time, couldn't a person after he has realized God just say I'm free and be free? He said yes, but most people don't care. They want to come back and help their disciples. But yes, you can, but they don't mind because they're already in God anyway. Once you've attained Jivan Mukti, you've found God. And whether you're completely free or not doesn't really matter that much. Okay? Any other questions? Yes.
Swamiji, when self-realization brings us union with all souls, in a way, then why is the union with the soulmate necessary?
If self-realization brings us union with all souls, why is union with your soulmate necessary?
I don't really know the answer to that question because Master was trying to create monks and nuns. He didn't want us looking for our soulmate on every street corner. So he didn't talk about that much, but he did say once that you have to meet your soulmate before you can be free. It may even meet in vision. The soulmate may be on another planet, but in that vision there has to be some sort of union there. The thing is that everything in nature, we live in Dvaita. Dvaita is what caused this manifestation of reality. The one spirit had to become two in order to manifest. The high waves and lows, like that. Vibration. And where there is vibration, there are opposites. And this is true for heat and cold. And they have found, even in science, that electrons have their mates. And when one electron moves, the other moves. And so it's certainly true that we have to meet someone who will be our soulmate. And but Master did not talk much about that. And I don't know what to say further because it's sort of an easily misunderstood subject. Nonetheless, there is a deep satisfaction when you meet your soulmate. You feel a certain completeness in yourself.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. Any other questions?
Swamiji, in the soulmate, does it have to come into a romantic relationship?
No, it should not be sexual. It should be without sex. Yeah. It's a completely pure relationship.
Swamiji, I have a question. We Hindus have 33 crores images of different deities.
What's he saying?
He's saying in the Hindu religion we have 33 crore deities or gods.
You know, there's Hinduism and there's Sanatana Dharma. I believe in Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma means that everything came from God, everything must merge back into God. And it has to be the same religion on the most distant planet in the most distant galaxy. There can be no other religion. So every true religion expresses Sanatana Dharma. And all these deities, you have a civilization old enough and you'll get enough gods. But this is not idol worship, it is ideal worship. You worship ideal, the ideal of kindness and the ideal of generosity and so on. But idol worship means worshiping money, sex, worldly things. This is really idol worship. And most people in this world, even though they say they're not idol worshippers, are idol worshippers. And the Muslims who say they don't worship idols, they worship idols all the time. Because they worship sex, they worship money, they worship ego, they worship everything. So we have to understand true religion. There are true and there are false religions. True religion is that which brings you toward union with the infinite. Okay? Any other? Yes.
Swamiji, you talked about meeting more saints in India when you had come earlier to India and there being fewer saints now. So, although we are getting into Dwapar Yuga, is it true that there are fewer saints on earth now?
I think right now India needs to claim its place among the great nations of the world. India is a great nation, has always been, but England pushed India down. And India now, just now, is coming out of that sense of inferiority. It has to come out of that. In time, the saintliness, holiness, is in the soil of India. You won't be able to get away from it. It's a temporary thing. Even now, after a few years, I see that people are starting to become more devotees, more seeking truth, and so on. So it's already coming up. Don't worry. India will always be the guru of the world. Any other?
Swamiji, how to make oneself perfectly immune to satanic influences?
How to make oneself perfectly immune to satanic influences?
Ah, that's a good question. Keep the mind here. There are other things you can do, because there are such influences. I know that one time there was a song I had written that somebody said maybe some well-known singer would take it and sing it. And so I went to the nightclub district of San Francisco, and I knew that the influences there were very bad. So before I went there, I spent time meditating in my room and singing Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. And I went through that nightclub district singing that chant. But I could feel the satanic influences from each nightclub trying to cull me in. And I just felt completely immune to it, because it was as if I was clothed in a sheet of armor. So chanting God's name is very important. One other thing is to harmonize the vibrations in your heart and send out harmonious vibrations. What you send out, then you won't receive. You know, people often say that talking in public is one of the greatest causes of nervousness. I have never been nervous. And it's strange, because at the age of 22, my guru had me lecture for him. I'd never lectured before. But I don't get nervous because I'm thinking in terms of other people's needs. And I'm thinking of giving to them instead of what do they think of me. And so if you give, the satanic energy won't come. There's another thing you can do, and that is, especially at night, standing by your bedside, join your fingers together in front and in back. And say Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat 3 times. Then write Om on your pillow. But these are all ways. Satanic influences exist. And you know, the Cairo Museum in Egypt, I felt a definite influence of black magic there. And I know 2 or 3 young girls that were there, and they were subjected to that, and they became susceptible to it. Took a while to get out of it. But these things are real, and I know that they practice some black magic in India too. It's a very wrong thing to do. You get very bad karma for practicing it. But you can be clear from it. And in Tibet, they practice it much more. I read an article once in which an American soldier went to a black magician in Tibet and said he wanted to go to a seance. And the black magician said, well, if you do, be sure to conceal yourself in a cowl, because if they know that you're not a black magician, they'll kill you. So he came with them, and there was a man sitting, the head magician was sitting on a rock, and he blew from a human thigh bone a long note. Then they all began chanting Yamantaka, Yamantaka, and going back and forth. And as they did it, the power of the chant became stronger and stronger. And then demons appeared, materialized. Demons, you could tell what they were, of greed, of sex, and so on. Finally, Yama himself began to appear. And then he began to take them over. And then they had got what they wanted from him. Then they strongly put their minds out to drive him away. And that was what they came for. Then they left. But that was what the power they wanted of Yama, to hurt people. And these are serious things. I think that's why China took Tibet, because there's too much black magic there. It's a very bad karma, but you can protect yourself from it by keeping your heart full of love. Nothing can touch you. And then it will be like a boomerang. It'll be sent to you and go back to the person who sent it. Okay? Yeah.
As you have been talking about the hard times ahead, in what way, so you would like us to prepare for the hard times in this community?
I would like you to prepare by buying gold instead of money, and by joining Ananda and coming to live here. Because I think these times may well be coming this year. With America as it is, the whole world, if America falls, the whole world will fall. Everything is in some way tied to the dollar, and I don't think India can escape it. When there's a depression, then there's war, because the two follow together. The depression in Europe led to the World War. I think that war may well happen. Pakistan may attack India. Pakistan wouldn't dare, but Pakistan has the backing of China. That's another story. So I don't think it's going to be very easy. Pune is the defense capital of India. May not be very easy. But if one thing, please remember, God will take care of you. God will protect you if you love Him. You know, there's a very interesting story that came out from the Second World War. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that's where they dropped the atom bombs. Near the epicenter of those bombs, there were two religious communities. One was Jesuit, the other was Franciscan, Christian. They were not touched. Even though they were close to the center, they were not touched. This is a sign that if you love God, He will protect you. So don't be afraid. I mean, even if you have to die, what does it matter? Death is nothing. But you will be protected if you love God. So I think that warfare, Master said that no place in this world will be safe from atom bombs. It'll be a sad thing. There are 35,000 known atomic weapons in the world today. That doesn't speak about the unknown. Look at Korea. They have no conscience at all. You never know what will happen, but if somebody drops an atom bomb on one country, do you think the other country will say, please go home? I doubt it. Master said, America won't be destroyed. It has too good karma. I would add to that, it hasn't lived long enough to get bad karma. But also I think India will be protected by its love for God. Be very careful to love God more and more. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
So, are there things that we should be doing physically, like storing food?
Yes, store food. It would be very good to store food. When food is not available, where do you get it? Store food, buy gold, because gold will have certain, but you can't eat gold. And so land is the most important thing of all. Okay, any other?
क्या हमारे शरीर के अंदर 33 करोड़ देवता सेल के रूप में हैं और साधना के द्वारा इनको जागृत किया जा सकता है?
He's asking, are the 33 crore deities actually the cells in our body which through meditation can be
I really don't know.
energized, awakened?
I don't know. It could be that. It could be that. We have to, in sense, start to see God throughout our bodies. So it's a good explanation. That's the best I've ever heard. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Master said, to those who think me near, I will be near. What is your favorite way of visualizing Master near?
I visualize him in my heart. I ask him a question every time I want to do anything. I said, is this right, Master? And if I get a negative thought, then I don't do it. But if I feel that I have his support, I do it. I try to please him in everything I do. And I hope I've succeeded, but I've spent my whole life trying to serve him. And I think that if you try to serve him and be open to the truth and not try to justify yourself, then you will be guided rightly.
Swamiji, to the same question, I have problem telling the feeling of, an answer in yes versus an answer in no in the heart when we ask at the spiritual eye.
As you develop sensitivity, you'll feel it. First of all, however, there must be none of this, oh, you really want this, don't you, huh? Huh? You must be impartial and accept whatever answer it comes, even if it's against what you want. Once you have developed that impartiality, then you can hear. Otherwise, you will hear your subconscious. Okay, any other questions?
Master, I have been trying to practice meditation with that.
What's this?
First came to know about Ananda and Yogananda ji through that book as well.
Lessons in meditation.
No, Secrets of Meditation. A small book is there with photographs.
Right.
You have every day one page thought per day.
Okay.
Which relates
What do you think?
He's just getting to the question, Swami.
Oh, okay.
So, in that, every page, like first step is you relinquish yourself away from the outward attachments and all. The second goes to holding yourself still. So has the meditation has to be practiced in the same manner, or you can pick up any page and practice anything?
He's saying, Swami, he picked up the book Secrets in Meditation, in which you have every day there is a certain thought. And he was wondering if he has to practice those thoughts in a sequential manner.
No. No, truthfully, I wrote those secrets books as a quick way of making money, so our publications would not sink. But I managed to find 31 for every day. And somebody said to me once, I'm sure you can't do one, but there's a real need for it, Secrets for Women. I said, well, of course I can't do that. And then I thought, well, let me see. And all of a sudden, a very feminine consciousness came over me. And I was able to write that book. And it took me about half an hour to get rid of that hypnosis that I was a woman. But anyway, it's a favorite book. No, there's no sequence. I just, in half an hour, I wrote each book.
But it's lovely.
Yeah.
Swamiji, you talked about Satan being on the left and God being on the right once. What does that mean?
We always think we take things and give gifts with our right hand. The right hand is called the positive side of the body. And I have to say to those who are left-handed, don't worry about it. But this is the right side and this is the left, that's why. Actually, it's not literal. Satan is inside you and God is inside you. Satan is below you. If you wanted to do it right, Satan is down here, God is up here. And the battle of Kurukshetra is the good qualities that bring you up, and the Kauravas are the negative qualities that bring you down. Those are Satan. So don't worry about that. I use it as an illustration. Any other questions?
same as Kriya? Does it change our karma?
Mantra?
Does chanting the Mahamrityunjay mantra help change our karma similar to Kriya?
Not as powerful. Kriya is more powerful. But Mahamrityunjaya is also a powerful mantra. And it has its own purpose. You know, in Treta Yuga, they discovered the power of sounds. And if a chant is chanted correctly, it has great power. But it has to be done with concentration. And there was one man who was being bothered by a demon, and he was saying, I, Ram, want to get rid of this demon. But he said, I forget how it was. Anyway, in the end, it meant that he said the mantra wrong. Instead of saying, I, Ram, I forget, my guru told me the story. It's not clear in my mind now. But if you pronounce it wrong, it can have the opposite effect. So mantras are don't play with them. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah.
I feel very lucky to be conscious about things like spiritually and to have faith in this life. But often I ask myself if in my future lives I'm gonna be so happy.
You know, if you were spiritual, she asked if I'm looking for God now, basically. How will it be in my future life? Is that guaranteed? Is that what you asked, more or less?
If I don't know, because I don't come from a family where, where they were looking for God. And so it's something that it comes from, just myself,
Yeah.
Well, I have the answer, but well, actually no.
I think that whatever good karma you have will carry through. If you start with seeking God, you can be sure of being drawn in that direction. However, there is this truth that many different karmas from different lifetimes come, and in your next life you may be something altogether different because of the karma of that life. You can be sure of this. If you give your life to God in this life, you will go upward, not downward. And you can go downward, and people do both. And you can go as far downward, this will shock you, but you can go as far down as a germ and think of having to work from that level and to have that memory of being something more than that, and yet the suffering of having to climb all that. It takes 5 to 8 million lives to reach the human level, and to have to go through all that again. But when you give your life to God, certainly you will be helped. There's one thing too. Once you really want God, you're already saved. It may take a few lifetimes, but at least once you've developed the desire for God, that's the desire, and it can't be shaken. You'll have to fulfill that desire. So the most important thing, and this is what saints always try to do, is at least to sow the seed of desire for God in people's hearts. And once they've done that, it may take lifetimes, but still they're on the right path. I asked my guru once, have I been your disciple for thousands of years? He said, it's been a long time, that's all I'll say. Well, yes, it may take a long time, but at least you're on the right path and you won't fall from that. Okay? That's an important question. Any other? Yes.
Do animals have an ego?
You know, we had a little Scottish terrier. His name was Jasper. And we lived in Bucharest, Romania. And my brother came out of doors with Jasper, and some dog catchers thought, well, here's a chance to get this dog, and then we'll hold him for ransom. We'll have to pay to get him back. And my brother held the net, and he said, run, Jasper, run! And so Jasper began running, and he ran as fast as he could. Usually he was a very lazy dog, but He understood. And these dog catchers chased after him, and finally Jasper got out of sight of them. Then he hid behind a bush, and the dog catchers ran past, and he trotted back home. And for weeks after that, we would talk about his intelligence in hiding behind a bush. And every time we did, he might be sitting under a table, but as soon as we started talking about it, he'd go, so obviously there was some ego there. They do have some ego, but it's a more general ego. They don't suffer the way we do, because once you reach the human level, then you've developed the ego that can rise or fall. From the animal level, you can't rise or fall. The evolution pushes you upward to the human level. Okay? So, but you can see that there's an ego in dogs. You can see there's in cats. In ants, I don't think so. Okay?
What can be the purpose of life? And can it be seen?
The purpose of life is that we have all come from bliss. We're the dream of God. He created this whole universe out of His bliss. God is not some separate being. He created everything out of His consciousness. Before this universe was made, there was only spirit. He created it through Om, through vibration. And so we are a part of that dream. And when we, what did he say?
What is the purpose of life?
The purpose of life. You know that everybody in the world wants happiness. Everybody, even if he's a mafioso, he may define happiness wrongly. A mafioso means a criminal, an Italian criminal. He may think of happiness as getting rid of it, getting rid of an enemy or getting revenge on somebody, but it's still a search for happiness. He wouldn't do it if he didn't think he'd get happiness. And so gradually people come up the ladder of understanding until they realize that they want happiness, not money. And then they seek happiness inside. But really, what it is motivated by is the fact that all of us seek bliss. We seek our own nature. And we have to understand that that bliss is inside, not outside. We'll never get it in things. We'll never get it in circumstances. We'll only find it when we go within. So we are driven by our own nature to seek our true reality in God, to seek bliss. And that is the purpose of life, to find who you are, to find happiness, and to find in happiness your relationship with God. Okay?
Swamiji, you may have heard that recently the government in India passed a bill that allows foreign direct investment in retail sector. What that basically means is that the multinational corporations will come to India, such as Walmart, and perhaps destroy so many small businesses, small family support network that's around that businesses. So my question to you, can you hear me?
Question?
My question to you is, what is the future of these multinational corporations? Will it take over the world, or will your small community solutions will be alternative to that?
You know, we're a multinational corporation. We have communities in America, in Italy, in India. It really depends on what your energy is. If it's to give, you get good karma. If it's to take, you get bad karma. And because business is essentially to take, you should realize in business to think in terms of how you can help other people. Is Walmart necessarily going to be bad for India? I don't know. I'm not really a statistician on this, but I would say on the whole, it would be better if India didn't have Walmart. I don't know what to say. Okay?
Swamiji, again on what he asked, like on the purpose of life, I was reading this book called Many Lives, Many Masters.
Yes, it says, yeah.
So there it was written that there is some purpose of life which everyone has got, like one person.
We all have a purpose, that's true. Somebody is born to be, because our purpose is to overcome our karma so that we can find that. But you know, William the Conqueror was an avatar. He was not born with desire. In 400 years after he died, his body was found incorrupt. Although the English will tell you he was a great villain, and when my guru told me that he had been William the Conqueror, I have to admit it was a great shock to me, because I'd been brought up in the English system, and suddenly I found my own guru was William the Conqueror, who I thought was one of the great villains of history. But I studied his life, and I had one of the members of Ananda give 10 years of her life to studying it, and she found it was a very noble life. And William, I think I was Henry, William's son, and he had you have certain karmas to overcome. It's not better to be a king than to be a street sweeper. It's nothing. There's no value system in it. But if you've done certain things, that's what the results will be. So I was a king, but I was a serviceful king. So that means good karma. A king who thinks in terms of taking, like Walmart, then he doesn't get good karma. But when you give, you get good karma. And so what your different karmas are is another story. You've come with many, many different patterns. I've been a king in many lives, and that's what I'm drawn to. But that doesn't make me better than anybody else. Fortunately, the lives I happen to know, I was interested in serving people and not in taking from them. So this is all to the good. But it's no better to be a king than a street sweeper. You're not more important. Everybody's in the same importance in God's eyes. Understood?
Also, on the same line, one question, like in that book, it was written about the previous lives, by hypnotism process, a lady was, taken into his past lives. So I was about to ask you that a human, once you reach to a human level, you cannot go back to an animal level?
You can. Yeah, you can. Normally you do not. A human being, once you reach a human level, remains a human being. But if you act animalistic, then you may have to go down for one life. It's only one life, then you come back to a human level. It's only if you sin repeatedly and keep falling, finally you may be thrown way down and then have to work your way up. But the idea of karma is not that in this life you may be a human being, in the next life you may be a spider. No, you're once a human being. The chances are 1,000,000 to 1 you'll remain a human being. Okay?
Swamiji, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ever since I've come on the path, on the spiritual path, my questions, they are getting dropped more and more.
Getting what?
My questions, that I used to have the questions before, they are getting dropped. So I have very few questions left now. It's a very blissful state. I mean, I'll not call it blissful, but it's a very peaceful state that I'm getting in. But I'm somehow finding it very difficult to tell the same thing to the people who are close to me. So I don't know, at times I feel as if am I going the right way?
You're going the right way. Don't worry about those people. In fact, try to get people who are close to you who are spiritual. Don't get unspiritual friends. Master used to say that environment, that means company, is stronger than willpower. So get yourself some good friends, some friends who understand. But your questions you're getting answered, this is very good. I have the strange karma, and it's what makes me a good teacher. But my guru told me that many lifetimes I suffered from doubt, spiritual doubt. I think if you're a doctor, maybe you had physical illness, and for that reason you're trying to help people physically. If you're a psychiatrist, you may have had a mental illness in the past, and I'm not sure they've all overcome it. But in my longing to help people, which I deeply have spiritually, I think it's from my own spiritual suffering, because Master quoted to me, he said, the doubter is the most miserable of mortals. And I, however, having been a doubter in the past, I'm not that now, But I now have anticipated just about any question anybody could ask. So I have no trouble answering questions. But really, you think it's so simple. I did go through a period of doubt, and what got me through it was love. Love is the answer to doubt. Don't try to get answers intellectually. You won't find truth through the intellect. You'll find it if you love God enough, then you'll know. So love is your answer, the answer to all questions. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah?
Swamiji, if there is a karma of marriage predicted for a person, can that person change that karma and become a renunciate?
If it's predicted that a certain person has a karma to be married, can he change that karma and become a renunciate?
You know, Master, in his horoscope, it was written that he would be married 3 times, being twice a widower. And he just refused to get married. And the last time, they thought they'd really trapped him because it was a really beautiful girl. And Satan himself said to him, "Isn't she nice? Isn't she? Would you like her?" Master said he opened his spiritual eye and he saw all the viscera and the blood and the feces and everything. He said, "I'm not interested in that." And so he got his brother, Prabhash Ghosh, his cousin brother, to marry her. And when he came back to India in 1935, he found poor Prabhash walking about like a little mouse, tiptoes. And she was just constantly nagging him. And Master said to her, "You know, I was supposed to be your husband. I have some right to you to tell you this. And if you had been married to me, I'd have given you 1 week, and I'd been off to the Himalayas." And so she promised to do better, and she did better after that. But you can overcome your karma. The Master it wasn't in his karma, but it was in his horoscope. And a guy has to be born with a horoscope, so there you are. Okay? You see, this Master met a saint, and the saint was married. And the saint asked Master, "Are you married?" He was a boy still. Master said, "No." He said, "Good for you, on the safe side. Better stay that way." He was married to a very worldly woman, but he said, "I've escaped her. She doesn't know where I am." Meaning he was inside. She couldn't follow him there. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
We had a discussion on the Patanjali book the other day, and we came up with a question. If basically if pleasure develops attachment, does pain develop attachment too?
You know, it does. People really are attached to their suffering. That's a harder thing to understand, but I could go into that length, but I don't feel to it this hour. But it's an interesting thing. There's a certain attachment to pain. Well, think of a mosquito bite. It hurts to scratch you, but at the same time it feels good. Isn't that true? So I'm not going to convince you with just that argument, but I don't have time to get into it at length. One more question, yes.
I came across a spiritual paradox. One statement says that everything is written or designed, and the other says that I am the creator of my destiny. So what should I believe?
He says that he's come across a spiritual paradox. On one hand, he's read that everything is predestined, and on the other hand, he's read that we ourselves are the creators of our realities.
You know, that's a very difficult question to answer. I had that question first when I went to Brigu, and I found that he knew things about my life, and he lived 5,000 years ago. How could he know it? And if he knew it, what is this about human free will? God knows everything. Otherwise, he wouldn't be omniscient. He does know your future. But you have to do the effort to do your best. He knows if you will make that effort. That's the answer. He knows if you've reached the point in your evolution where now you understand that you want to get out of that delusion. But you have to do your best. That's a tricky question, a good question, but that's the answer. Okay, everybody, God bless you.